مساكم الله بالخير جميعا. Good evening everyone. Thank you all for coming this evening to the Cultural Diwaniya, and a wonderful Happy New Year to all of you. My name is Al-Fuhaid and I am one of the founders of the Cultural Diwaniya along with my colleagues Liana Al-Awadi and Sarah Al-Atiji. And on behalf of everyone, thank you all for coming. This is a very interesting topic that we'll be discussing today, which I'm sure majority of you have been affected by in some way. I'll just give a brief background and history on the Cultural Diwaniya and how it all came about. So basically it came from a personal experience back in 2013 where I would attend a weekly Diwaniya with my family. And it was a very recurring and repetitive Diwaniya where I would see family members, I would engage with them, I'd discuss stuff with them, and I still go to this day. But it felt very repetitive and very systematic. I didn't feel like I was gaining anything or discussing anything different from the norm. So, and it also, I was wondering as well at the time why we didn't have a Diwaniya where people other than my family members could attend, or even people from the opposite sex can attend as well. So, back in August 2013, we hosted our first Diwaniya in my own family Diwaniya in Roda. And from then, as the years have gone by, we've gone from strength to strength and hosted Diwaniyas in collaboration with various venues and organizations such as the US Embassy, British Embassy, Nuqat, Ibtikar Consultants, and our venue right here at Masaha 13. So once again, thank you all for coming. And today's topic is about drugs. And I'm really curious to hear each and every person's feedback and opinion on this. It matters to all of us, and I hope you guys have a great time. Keep in
يعطيكم العافية. Thank you all for being here today. Today we're going to be discussing drugs. It's something I actually spent 4 to 5 months working on for my master's thesis, where I had to interview drug dealers and on Instagram and see how they were distributing it within the UK. But today I don't want the discussion to be all about whether or not we should legalize cannabis or whether or not it's halal or haram. So perhaps we should start with this question here. Or actually, do you want to start with statistics? Maybe just to give you like a little gist of what's been going on lately. Because you know, sometimes statistics in Kuwait are very updated. So in 2011, there was a study that they did on Kuwait that found out that 10% of the youth sample they used had actually experimented drugs. And within another study, which I don't have the statistics for over here, around 85% of the youth that were within their study, they were all aware that there was a drug problem and a drug epidemic happening around them. So we can generally say, I wouldn't base my conclusion on that, but we can say that we're aware of what's happening, and so are the younger generations. I would like to start this discussion with the question, why is it that there has been an increase in illicit drug consumption among the youth? And I don't want your answers to be, well, it's available, or we have the expenses to do it. Why is it that people are doing it? Like, what's in them, or what is it? Is it mental health? Is it because they're depressed? Is it because there's nothing else to do? So, and answers like media will not be accepted either. Thank you. So who would like to take the floor first?
Don't be shy.
Yes. So why is it that there has been an increase? With a question? Of course, there are no rules.
Thank you. First of all, when we're talking about drugs, it's like I can compare it to asking, do you eat seafood? What kind of seafood? So what kind of drugs are we talking about, to be specific? Because a lot of effects come from different kind of drugs, you know?
Of course. So today the definition of drugs will have everything from drugs that are not prescribed to you, but you're taking them regardless, and it will also include other illicit drugs, including cannabis and their friends, its friends. Okay. Yeah, if you want to call them that. Cool. Yes.
مساء الخير. معكم مستشارة علاج إدمان وتقييم سلوك. وايد لفت نظري المحاضرة عن الدراجز. راح أقول لكم شوية أسباب من خلال عملي اللي أنا أقوم فيه. أول شيء المخدر تنوع. أصبحت مو بس مخدرات مثل المصنع اللي إحنا نسمع عنها. في أدوية هي بوابة الإدمان. ساعات في أدوية ناخذها أو ياخذونها عفوا الشباب في سن صغير يمكن 13 12 سنة يدمنون عليها، دش عليهم في بوابة أشياء ثانية. في عنف أسري بس مو كثير. في ظروف نفسية للشخص نفسه، مو بالضرورة يكون هو مريض، مو بالضرورة يكون عنده مرض نفسي، لكن ساعات الشخصية الضعيفة تلجأ لأي شيء يخمد لها شعور معين عندها. بالإضافة لتوفر المادة، المادة اللي هي نتكلم عن الفلوس. قبل شوي يعني خلينا نتكلم قبل 15 20 سنة كانت المادة مو متوفرة مثل الحين. سهولة الحصول على المادة، سهولة الحصول على المخدر، هذه وايد أسباب. أنا أعتقد دور الأسرة جدا مهم. الأم ما عادت الأم بالسابق، الأب ما عاد الأب بالسابق، فأنا أعتقد أنه وايد عوامل، العوامل اللي الثلاث سنين هذه غير العوامل اللي قبل 15 سنة. يعني هذا باختصار بس عشان نعطي فرصة للغير.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
Hi. I actually disagree with what you said because in the movies, internet, there's always going to be drug abuse, or you can see it anywhere else in the world. I'm sure if everybody opens their Instagram right now and watches a couple of videos, there's going to be one post about a guy taking drugs or whatever. So حتى لو we lock the kid up in his room, he's going to find out about them eventually. And الدكتور يعطيك العافية. Pardon? The Silk Road one. Make a simple Google search tells you everything. You can make a bomb out of Google. So I'm sure it's not going to be very hard for him to find it. And I think that we don't know about drugs before because there wasn't the research. It was scary to talk about it before. But now in 2018, أحس تقدمنا in a شكل اللي عادي. We can just have a nice conversation like this about it. But if we go back 10 years and have a discussion about المخدرات, I'm sure cops would just walk in right now. So yeah.
احنا دام يبنى طاري distribution channels, within the interactive Instagram polls, there were multiple responses that all referred to either the US base, or they referred to the police themselves, or they referred to the cops not caring much about the system. So what we can see that's been going on, or that could possibly be going on, is corruption within the system itself and within the actual governmental institutions. What do you guys think the government should do to actually counter the distribution process, to kind of like harden the efforts? Because from a crime science perspective, once you harden the efforts and once you increase the punishments by law, people become less willing. But is everyone aware of what the sanctions are, or what the consequences are if you either take drugs or drugs, for example? Can you please raise your hand if you know what the laws are, if you're aware of them? Exactly. Yeah. Both. Any of the two. Adi, just put your hand up. Public vote. So it's 3 people. 4. Okay. Very little. Less than 20% of the room. Okay. Yes.
But don't you think that the law is very open, very straight, very vague, actually?
Yes.
Same as alcohol consumption. We had the conversation with the gentleman over there. Yeah, the law is very vague. Same thing goes with alcohol. There is no strict law which says if you have this, you will. I think it's just based on the mazaj al-sharti. Yeah. And why should we criminalize stuff where we can actually legalize it, and you can have safe drugs basically rather than having dealers make their own stuff basically? Just my personal opinion.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم يعطيكم العافية جميعا. And I just want to ask before I start, I'd rather speak in Arabic. So is anybody okay with Arabic? الكل يعرف عربي صح؟ Okay. معكم دكتور عمر الحسينان. أنا دكتور في كلية القانون. دكتور اقتصاد وأيضا دكتور قانون. رقم واحد، أول شيء مش الشرطي اللي يحكم، ففي سلطة قضائية، والقانون غير not vague. It's not vague يعني or vivid. Let's put it this way. It's straightforward, very well known once you know it. Let's talk in general. Let's talk first of all economics rather than go to law. الدكتورة قالت إن المادة تلعب دور كبير، صح؟ I agree. I totally agree. لكن في إحصائية تقول إن الدول الفقيرة poverty ما لها شغل بالفلوس على فكرة، ولا لها شغل whether you're rich or poor. Most countries who are not developed economically are worse in terms of using drugs, such as Colombia, such as countries. It goes on and on because of regulations. Let's put it this way: there's no regulations, so the country is open. It's open for everything, صح؟ مع ذلك في إحصائية ثانية تنافي هذه الإحصائية، تقول لك لا، إن أيضا الدول المتطورة اللي عندها مداخل مالية وعندها رقي في المجتمع، أيضا they have the same thing، بس شيء يختلف مثل ما تفضلت الدكتورة، إنه بناء على شنو أنت قاعد تستعمل. Is it depression? Is it family? Is it هذا ولا is it business? Is it traditional culture? It goes on and on and on. So it's an open discussion in terms of what المستشارة قالت ومثل ما الشباب أيضا قالوا. Now أنا طبعا ما راح أعقب زيادة بالeconomics. We'll keep it open. Number two, let's go back to law itself. في الكويت في 3 سلطات، في سلطة تشريعية، قضائية وتنفيذية. السلطة التشريعية اللي هم أعضاء مجلس الأمة وما شابه ذلك تكلموا بأكثر من محاور على هذا النمط، على نمط المخدرات والعقوبات اللي موجودة والregulations. They tried their best. It's great to be honest. However, let's go to السلطة التنفيذية. السلطة التنفيذية she cannot apply every single rule on every case لأن every case has different colors and we know all colors have shades. صح؟ فمدمن المخدرات مو نفس تاجر المخدرات. زين واحد خذ خلينا نقول مخدرات نوع اكس مو نفس واي. حتى وكيل النيابه، لو تروح عند وكيل النيابه، وعندنا زملاء كثيرين في وكالات النيابه في المخدرات، راح يقول لك انا ما اعاقبك لما تاخذ هيروين. It's not like X Y Z. فالديفيرز مثل ما انت تفضلت it's like seafood basically. There's a lot of types. زين so we're going to talk about which type exactly that has the highest. مثل heroin for example. Heroin is the highest. Heroin, cocaine, this is like the top of the top. However, even طبيبة أتوقع تدري أن في أدوية تهرب أو تسرب من وزارة الصحة أيضا تعتبر classified as A. مثل واحدة خلينا نقول يمكن ما أدري أنت أصح عندك معلومة أكثر مني أدق. أوكسيكودين for example. ترامادول في مصر يعني شيء منتشر بشكل مو طبيعي. ففي أدوية مثل ما تظهر. فنرجع إلى القانون آخر شيء أختم فيها، ان كل محامي بالكويت وقاضي ووكيل نيابه ومحقق وما شابه ذلك عنده العلم بالاصناف، اصناف المخدرات، يدشون دورات في منهم خاصه المختصين وكلاة نيابه اللي يشتغلون في المخدرات يدشون دورات كثيره يتخصص في هذا المجال. ولكن حسب معلومه حصريه سمعناها من وكيل نيابه بالمخدرات يقول لا، احنا ناخذ دورات في A وB وC الاصناف العليا، الاصناف الثانيه انا عاملها صنف واحد. So when you talk about for example chemical, when you talk about مثلا اللي نسمع بالساحه عن شابو والشغلات البسيطه هذه كلها تجريمها واحد. He would consider it as one color. بس once you go to class A, B, C لا والله فيها اختلاف ايضا بالقانون والعقوبه والغرامه. For example I could give, I'm not a specialist يعني بالاريا الدكتور يمكن احسن مني بهالمجال، لكن نعطي مثال اللي انا متاكد منهم. كوكايين for example, heroin number 2. These things are classified as A. For LCD من يعرف اللي مثل LCD أظن LSD sorry اللي هم مالت ميوزك وسو. This is classified as A in Kuwait. In most countries actually.
هل تتفق معه؟ هل تتفق ان
بغض النظر انا
سؤال
يعني
وجهة نظر.
بغض النظر انا مستشار في الوزاره، بس انا مو يعني رجل قانون بشكل عام نعطيك رايي، لكن احنا قاعد as a debate. All I'm saying is إن مثل ما تفضل الرجال قال لك إنه we should know exactly what we're talking about. This is number one. Number two إنه مثل ما تفضل الدكتورة لازم أعرف أنا إنزين أي نوع اللي أنا أكون أيد معه ولا لا، لأن في ناس depression هذا ما أقدر أخليه حال مدمن اللي هو مدمن فعليا بإرادته وما شابه ذلك. في ناس يعني عنده خير وعنده مادة لكن he has ضعف بنفسيته فhe wants something that comforts him. مثل ما ناس وايد they go to for example cigarettes, so they go back chocolate for example. I don't know if girls could apply with ice cream and all of these wonderful stuff. This is all related kind of يعني goes back to you as in personally. واضح؟ all I want to say إن القانون بالعكس واضح وفي تصنيف له جدا قوي. من ناحية اقتصادية أنا أتمنى أن أيضا النقاش ينتقل إلى ناحية اقتصادية، أن المجتمع الكويتي شلون فكرة الآن مع الدراجز. قولي هذا وإن شاء الله إنه ما ضايقت أحد.
زين أنا بس عندي سؤال الحين، العقوبة شنو؟ هل هي عقوبة ولا يودونه حق علاج بمركز الإدمان؟ لأن أنا طبيب نفسي وساعات يجونا ناس من الشرطة عشان يدشون مركز الإدمان حق علاج، فمتى يتعالج متى يروح السجن؟
قانونيا ولا علاجيا؟
قانونيا. هل هو يعني الشرطي نفسه هو يعني يقرر منو يروح يتعالج منو يقط بالنظارة ولا شلون الوضع؟
بس معلومة سريعة، الشرطي هو رجل قانون مفوض، فهو ليس القانون بحد ذاته. فالشرطي كل عليه يوصل الى المحقق او وكيل نيابه، وبعدين من ذلك تنتقل للسالفه. زين لما ينقلونك بناء على شنو انت جاي. is it your first time تلعب دور كبير؟ هل عندك ملف من قبل؟ هل انت مدمن او انت استعملت؟ depends exactly on which case. في حالات نعم انا متاكد ان في حالات سمعنا كثير انه لا تحولها الى علاج، واتوقع الدكتوره يمكن مرت عليها حالات او سمعت بحالات انه لا تحولها الى وزاره الصحه من باب علاج تفويضا مع وزاره الداخليه. لكن اريد اقول لك من ناحيه علاج انا لا افقه في هذا الشيء، واتوقع الدكتوره تقدر تفيدك اكثر مني.
السلام عليكم، أنا أرد عليكم أنتم الاثنين في سؤالكم عن القانون وشنو الرادع القانوني. نهائيا ما أعتقد أن القانون هو اللي يلعب دور بهذا الموضوع. أعرف شخص وتدري لي أنا هو مباحث المكافحة، وحاولت إني أدعوه اليوم لكن بحكم موقفه يعني صعب إنه يكون موجود. لكن من المعلومات اللي عرفتها من الشخص أن المخدرات أكثر شيء موجودة داخل السجن، فيعني هو بالنهاية مو القانون اللي يردع. أنا بوجهة نظري أن الوعي هو اللي يلعب دور. القانون مهما كان شديد أكثر شيء يعني شنو يوصل للسجن؟ المخدرات موجودة بالسجن. فا I think مهما تكلمنا مهما كبر الديبيت عن القوانين، الوعي هو الأساس. الكويت بدأت تحط برامج توعوية عن الصحة النفسية. إذا صار عندك مشكلة نفسية لا تتردد إنك أنت تروح حق طبيب نفسي. خلاص نمر إنه موجود طبيب نفسي، إن هذا شيء يعني لا خلاص. الموضوع يحتاج توعية نفسية. This is my point of view.
أنا I totally agree. First of all, just to be clear, إحنا ما قلنا إن القانون هو الحل، إحنا بس كنا قاعد نتكلم في أمور القانونية، صح؟ Does not بالضبط ما له القانون ما له شغل. القانون جزء it's a variable حال many other variables. so مثل ما انت قلتي انا اتفق معك.
I'll just take a step back وارجع حق نقطتنا بساعة when we talked about distribution. I don't think limiting distribution would stop this problem, because no matter what, people will find access. We're surprised always with what people are taking just to get high. We've seen cases where they use gaslight to get high, cheap cologne. They mix it with water and they drink it just to get high. And the health complications with this are disastrous. I'm talking the patient comes to us and we have no clue what to deal with, because we didn't learn in medical school how to deal with cologne dependence and addiction. So I think education is important. A lot of people do not know. All the education that they receive is drugs are bad, okay? And all drugs are bad. You should not do drugs whatsoever. If anyone sells you drugs, just say no. And then you look into the media, you look into the pop culture, and you look into the developments recently, and people are kind of normalizing certain drugs, like cannabis, for example. So kids try it out. They see it's harmless compared to other things. They see, oh, all right, this is nice. Let me try the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. Because all the info that I've received is wrong. They've told me that drugs are bad. I've tried this drug and I feel great. So I think this distinction needs to be made, that like the doctor said here, there are different levels of drugs, and it's important to be aware of each drug and its complications, because even cannabis, it's not harmless. It has its side effects, it has its problems, it's less so than other drugs, but it's still a serious substance that we need to educate people about.
I have a question for you as a medical professional. When people come to you and they're users,
Yes.
do you ask them, I'm sure you ask them why, but what is their reasoning? Why do they want to get high so bad? يعني what is it? Is it apathy? Is it والله they're used to يعني مثلا when you watch movies or shows, واحد مثلا he's in finance, he's used to getting a certain high, so he wants to replicate that which he gets from his job. He doesn't get it فخلاص he'll do drugs مثلا. This is again cliche, but what is it? Is it emptiness? I'm very curious.
There's a magnitude of problems, and we know addiction as a word is now not in the classification of mental health. In the DSM, our guidebook for all mental illnesses, the word addiction, you will not find it there. They've replaced it with dependence. So certain people are dependent on something, and the reasons it can range. A lot of the times it's simple peer pressure. They're just catching up with the group. And this is disastrous, because this usually starts with the softer drugs and then works the way up to the harder. Another thing can be social stressors, psychological issues. I'm not talking mental illness per se. I'm just talking dysfunctional environment setting at home, at school, at work, would lead people to find an escape. And a lot of them find that in substances. It can start with as simple as cigarettes and caffeine. Both are highly dependent substances, and then go up. And a lot of the time, I think people are influenced by their surroundings. So a person who might not be willing to partake in substance misuse might see a friend do it, and over time become normalized. And then a life stressor, a life event comes along, and a big change happens, and then they start using. They're like, screw it, I'm just going to go with it. Why not? And then they get hooked easily on a lot of stuff because of lack of education. They've tried one type of drugs, it's not addictive to them, so they think all drugs are like this. They think a lot of the information that they've received about the negative effects of drugs is false. And it's disastrous because I've seen kids as young as 16, 17, and 18 who are dependent on so many substances. That I've heard the list and I'm in shock because this is a 17-year-old kid. How has he had access to things like chemical, synthetic marijuana, which is an absolute disaster with regards to health effects? And this is a big problem here because a lot of people think it's just like weed, it's just like cannabis. It's absolutely nothing like it. It looks like it, maybe, but the effects, the physiological effects and the complications are completely different. And we don't know what's in a lot of these substances, like the synthetic marijuana, the stuff we've received. We've had people who had stroke, jalda bil mukh, at a very young age as a result of smoking synthetic marijuana. So, and a lot of the times when I've asked them, they told me, oh, nas bil firij, someone offered me.
I do actually agree with you that people are really taking marijuana easy these days, and they are promoting that it's a harmless drug, or at least a drug with the least side effects. And they are building like their evidence on just on personal experiences. Like this guy smoked marijuana, he's healthy, he's successful, and he's doing fine in life. But this is not how you build evidence. Like if you actually just do a very basic research about marijuana, you'll see that it's correlated with schizophrenia. It's correlated with anxiety, with depression. So marijuana is not a good drug to relieve your anxiety or your depression. It actually increases your depression and anxiety. And as an evidence, treating depression, as you know, if you're a psychiatrist, you treat with antidepressants or psychotherapy, not with marijuana. So people are just building it on personal experiences. For example, cigarettes. You see a guy who smokes cigarettes who never had cancer before. It doesn't mean that it doesn't cause cancer. It doesn't mean. Even if you see 100 guys who smoked cigarettes for years and they didn't get cancer or they are in perfect shape, it doesn't mean it's safe in the first place. The second thing about people who are prone to substance abuse. If you go to a high school, for example, and find a healthy kid, a healthy, normal kid, and you give him access to drugs, there's a high risk that or not high risk, most likely he wouldn't even try the drug, given his stable mental health, given his basic about drugs and his education. Some people are more prone to substance abuse. People with depression, with anxiety, with psychopathic tendencies, they are more likely to abuse drugs actually. So I always talk about it on Twitter sometimes, and I even talk about it with my friends. I always say like mental health comes first, promoting mental health. If you see a guy who's struggling mentally, you should actually address this problem. Don't take things like, if someone tells you like, I'm depressed, don't take it easy. This guy could fall actually into substance abuse. So unfortunately we lack knowledge about mental health. We don't consider mental health it's a part of your overall health. Like depression is just like diabetes. People get depression because they are genetically predisposed to depression. Even people who are rich, they're living.
Mental illness does not discriminate.
Yeah. So
just to reply to your first point, the evidence is there, the research is there. There are certain medical benefits of, say, marijuana, but the things that are being researched are specific types and specific dosages and specific strains.
Right.
It's different than what's available on the streets because we have no idea what's available on the streets. There are different strains. The CBD is the one associated with the medical benefits, but THC is the one that provides the high.
Right.
Why is it illegal? That's a long question, and this comes down to historical aspect. I'm not really the best fit to ask it, but it's. I've seen people who bring hemp oil and CBD things from abroad to give to their parents, elderly. I'm talking people who are suffering from Alzheimer's. And they ask us, it's good that they provide us with this information as doctors because it's important for us to know. But they say that they've tried several drugs, but this is the one. The question of whether it's illegal or not is a big debate. But the research is still insufficient. There's still long research to do because when a medication is being used, it doesn't just go straight into effect. But it's not been studied well.
Has anything been studied here in Kuwait?
No, nothing about cannabis.
How can we legalize or legalize something without any studies, without any basis? Based on other studies abroad?
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
And studies abroad show that drugs has failed, drug war has failed in the US. So it's not about the regulations. It's not about the. It's about توعية أول شيء. Secondly, you need to understand the differences between them, and see, and actually allow labs or people to study it and hear مثلا and decide whether there might be some health benefits. If there was health benefits, then why are we not allowing people to have those health benefits?
Because
if we took like the CBD out of and used it, عرفت? Yes, there is no sufficient studies, but why isn't there? And why is it illegal then without any sufficient studies? And there's no sufficient studies that say that CBD is harmful in any way. So why is it illegal?
The thing is, studies need. If we're still a long way to get to the point of evidence where we have it strong enough to fully recommend it, and it's not just illegal in Kuwait; it's illegal in most parts of the world.
It started illegal. Where did it start? Where did it become illegal? Where was the base of?
I'm honestly
illegal?
not sure.
It was legal almost
Maybe someone
everywhere.
else might.
It was legal almost everywhere in the world.
It's basically okay. We do psychoactive drug. What's a psychoactive drug? It alters your brain chemistry and your lens of reality. If you access this lens all the time, you start to switch and believe that this is reality. Some people they're under stress, so they want to exit their current reality into an alternative reality.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about psychoactives. Any psychoactives.
But CBD isn't psychoactive.
No,
CBD wouldn't affect your
anything
mind anyway.
that affects
it wouldn't alter your mind in any way.
This is a psychoactive drug. It's coffee. Google it. It's psychoactive. It changes
CBD?
your brain chemistry to perform slower or faster. Either you speed up or you slow down. Coffee is a psychoactive drug. It's a regulated psychoactive drug. What's happening in the U.S. right now in Canada, they're trying to regulate weed. So the government and industries can benefit.
That's
you want to talk economically?
That's THC, and THC is the thing that alters your mind in weed. CBD doesn't alter your mind.
There's a rich literature of all of what you're talking about. Just check Google Scholar and your best two colleges. I believe
many people use CBD. I've never.
You can.
That doesn't get any effect from CBD. ايه بس ما ياثر عليك ما يخليك you won't get high if you use CBD or you won't get any kind of satisfaction.
There's neuroscience. You can put you on fMRI. We can check your brain, and we can put nodes on your head, and we can check everything that happens. You know? Just saying, it's a psychoactive drug. It activates the psyche in different ways. You can, depending on your psychological state, you can get different effects depending on your genetics, whether you're prone to certain things. Some people are prone to depression. Some people they might not know they're prone to depression. It's in their genes. So sometimes smoking cannabis can activate a gene that's been deactivated for so long. I'm not saying it will happen, but it can happen. It has happened in many cases. So that's why different drugs affect people differently. And some things can take time to build up. Some people build a tolerance, but then they get a crash. Their brains short circuits. And
guys, 1 point, please, one at a time. Let the person that has the mic finish their point and then respond.
I like to talk about psychedelics, like mushrooms, which are called psilocybin, LSD, like you mentioned. DMT, it's a natural compound found in all living organisms. Ayahuasca has the compounds. It's a shamanistic drink and found in the Amazons from like a bark and a leaf. So they mix it up and then they have this ritual and they drink it. And they don't use it as recreational. They use it more of a rite of passage, or if someone in their tribe or whatever has a existential problem or he's facing something in his life. So they take it and they go on this trip. And everything they see in their trip is manifested from their head. It's not manifested from the drug or anything. It's actually from their head. So what does psychedelic mean? Psychedelic means, in Latin, mind manifest. So, okay, mostly you'll have a bad trip. And why do you have a bad trip? It's because your brain or your mind or consciousness drops you in hell, basically. And you have to face all your negative problems or birth trauma or childhood trauma. That's basically your mind, your dam can't hold it any longer. So basically you're dropped in there and you're facing all your problems. And after your bad trip, you'll have a profound experience, a life-changing experience. It's called ego death. This is where your actual ego dissolves. And when your ego dissolves, out of the trip, you become a whole new person. And when you become this new person, it's a positive change. It's not negative. Nothing negative about these three drugs happens. Our friend over there talked about schizophrenia, cannabis, weed, or LSD psychedelics. You only get schizophrenia if it runs in your family. It's genetic. That's the only issue of that. I'd like to ask our psychiatrist friend about these psychedelics, because they're there in nature and they help us. They help us deal with our problems, and they help us with depression. They did studies in Johns Hopkins about cancer patients, their fear of death, and how when they took psilocybin mushrooms, they weren't afraid anymore. They were ready for death. They were okay. They were happy. They were living their best lives in the last minutes and seconds. So I don't understand why there's a bad taboo. And you said it's classified as A. A is the worst, or A is like, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't understand what's going on here. And in America, I used to have a bad vibe or whatever in the 70s from one guy who screwed up the whole process. He ruined everything for all the doctors, all the psychiatrists, all the studies. So recently, they've been redoing studies, research, reintroducing the LSD studies, psychedelic studies, and all the research is positive. There's nothing negative, nothing. It has nothing to do with, I mean, if you use it recreationally, that's not, you can do it, it will affect you positively, but this drug can have massive, massive changes to our whole society, to depressed people, people that are addicted to heroin, alcohol, cigarettes. They take this little pill, if it's synthetic LSD or a mushroom, and they're fixed. They don't need to do needles. They don't need to smoke or drink alcohol. So I don't understand why it's classified as A, and it saves a lot of money. You don't have to go to 10 sessions of therapy or waste your money. You just take this natural occurring, like.
Thank you. Thank you.
But just want to add something. كل شيء بالعقل حلو. Like, just don't overdo it.
Okay, thank you all for your input. Before we go on to other questions, I realize that we're steering the conversation a bit towards why is it legal, why is it illegal, why should we legalize it or not. بس احنا يبنى طاري هم التوعية. وباي ذا واي على طاري الستاديز ان في ممكن عادي في وايد ناس يقدرون يسوون ستاديز بس الكونكلوجن كله على حسب what the researcher has and what he selects to choose as evidence or as supporting evidence. You can always have research that's either for or against something. However, احنا وايد تكلمنا عن موضوع التوعية وإن ليش ما في توعية, why aren't we educating our children, and this is where it should start. Back when I was in high school, we never had a visit from the Ministry of Health or from whatever other entity to actually come and talk to us about drugs. Allahumma biology class, which was like, whoa, drugs or sexual education, like 1% of it, if anything. But recently I was surprised because my brothers and little cousins, they did get visits from the Ministry of Health last year, and there was a warning, and there was a warning for a reason. Because as mentioned earlier, yeah, there has been a huge increase within illicit drug consumption against the youth. فإذا احنا بنتكلم التوعية, I tried researching online and finding government efforts to counter drugs. دخلت موقع وزارة الداخلية and it was horrible, I'm sorry. They had a part where they kind of like subcategorized why you shouldn't do drugs, because once you start taking cannabis, you start doing all these other drugs. And then there was another section that was telling you because it's haram. And there was another section that was telling you just because you'll get into trouble. And the fourth section, what it pointed out to the family itself. But it was very outdated and very poor. I came across this other organization called Ghiras. I don't know if you had the chance to see it on our Instagram story. And the way they approach it is that they actually had a campaign where it would say, block your way to drugs. And this certain campaign is actually going to be funded by the government very soon through the UN. And in my personal opinion, I don't think it works. In my personal opinion, I think when you want to campaign or want to get people to do something, you should nudge it to them indirectly and not label whatever effort it is you're trying to do to get them away from drugs as an anti-drug campaign, for example. So to spice things up a bit today, we want to try something new where we will put you into small groups. And the case is that within your group of 5 or 6 or whatever, we would like you to come up with a campaign or with a strategy to counter the illicit drug epidemic amongst the youth within the country. And keep in mind that there's another huge factor that's been happening that we didn't mention, that it's not only the cannabis or the hashish that are being distributed in the streets, it's also from some psychiatrists themselves and pharmacies that just go on and they give prescriptions out as if it were candy because there's a financial incentive at the end of the day. And it's not only in Kuwait, it's everywhere across the world. So my friend Sarah here is going to help me out. You have 5 minutes to brainstorm, and you can choose a speaker for your group, and you can present your strategy or whatever you want to call it. Okay? Awesome. Yes, question.
Okay, so الحين each group representative is going to have 2 minutes. Liana is going to time you. You're going to say your position and your solution. Okay? Start. أنت.
We concluded that most wars on drugs has failed. As an example, we could throw is America, where since Nixon illegalized it to jail black people, this all started. خلاص بعدين صار it's a matter of packing people in jail. The best solution we saw compared based on studies and the world, the idea they had in Japan, where they created an institution, where in that institution you could use any type of substance or any type of drug, with medical attendees there. Since they created this institution 3 years ago, there has been many people going there using all types of drugs, whether it's cocaine, heroin, LSD, or whatever, any kind of psychedelics, any kind of drug, in a way where those medical people are there, and there has never been a case of overdose, and there has never been a case of death or any single thing bad that happened, because everything was under control. أي مضاعفات ممكن تصير حق أحد بتنحل المشكلة على طول وخلاص. لأن that would be a safe haven for those drug users. Otherwise, fighting it or destroying it, يعني basically. Let's assume we agree that someone smoked weed at الديوانية, for example, and harmed no one. Okay. But basically, okay, the idea is the institution.
Yeah, we want to modernize the world. So, معكم حسن. Our plan for this campaign is to firstly reduce harm, educate, and let the people come in and try the drugs and let them themselves what's harmful and what else? There's one more point. Mostly, no, not the hard narcotics, but more of the naturally occurring drugs. And yeah, they can ask researchers and professionals in the field about them and the positives and negatives, and we'll let them go for it if they want to or not. They'll be the deciders. No judge zone.
Well, that's great. We discussed the drugs, how the drugs infiltrate homes. That's the first thing we discussed in our group, and we one of the strategies that we decided we'd go by is subliminal marketing, because at the moment in these like traditional sort of marketing messages that have been spread around are no longer effective. The youth are aware of what's happening, and they know that they're being marketed to. So by using subliminal marketing through social media, and especially apps where some what's her name, introverted people seek friends and seek different identities online, because we're also facing a crisis of identity at the moment. A lot of teenagers are looking to escape from their own reality, and they go through these apps. They don't have to be the Snapchat or these Twitter, different kind of apps, and they find friends who sell them drugs. So if we get to these people and try to get into their own being and help them, then maybe through this, we'll, that's basically our strategy.
Our plan sounds boring compared to these guys, but yeah, I do believe that education and awareness simply plays a huge role on it. The war on drugs will never end, just like the war on anything else. You will fight to the end. Doesn't mean that you should stop fighting in the first place. So I believe in educational awareness, and also involving anti-drug awareness campaigns and curriculums, for example, educational curriculums. For example, substituting philosophy courses in high school with mental health courses that also include substance abuse curriculum. Other things that focusing on other things like athletics and promoting it, and even promoting the rewards for athletics, like for example sports day, for example, simply as that. So people who are more athletic, they are unlikely to do drugs in the first place, and then focus on any art, for example. And one thing is that to focus on the high-risk groups, people who are more prone to substance abuse, people with depression and anxiety or other psych disorders. You can identify them from a young age. So having a mental screening at least would identify them, and then you could treat them accordingly, which will minimize the risk of substance abuse. And also asking from celebrities like athletes, any celebrities, politicians in Kuwait to talk about it. Those people are idols compared to.
So we also mentioned more of taw'iyah, and but still it's not enough. So we propose a similar solution to, as two of us, two people proposed earlier, a clinic where you could also try things out. Yes, legalization would be nice, but in the meantime, healthcare. I've sat with a few people who do take drugs, and my main question to them was, what do you do when you overdose? You start panicking. Now what? Who do you call? Where do you go? They're like, oh, we call our doctor friends. They'll help us out, but there's only a limit to what they can do. And they don't want to go into the system, because once they're in the system, then they're screwed. So they'd rather die. So I suggest maybe a clinic like that for basic stuff at the same time يكون في توعية. Okay, here try the basic stuff. This, and while you're trying the basic stuff, you get to watch what happens when you take this too far. So you see the pros and the cons, and then you make your own decision. Yeah, and that's what we.
Hello everyone, I'm Dalal, Groupie Ibrahim and Jaber وعبدالله. Our idea is very creative. We build it من خلفية شلون الفاشينيستات صاروا مشهورين. I think إن people يحبون، هذه طبيعة بشرية إن الناس عندهم فضول. فإحنا the idea we create إن we make a series. هذا المسلسل فيه شخص مدمن، مسلسل قصير يعني مثل فيديوهات قصيرة، الشخص ما يبين، نغطي الملامح وجهه، we let people to go digging inside his life، شلون يروح، شلون يجرب، شلون يعيش، شلون يلاقي those channels. وأثناء متابعتنا لهذه الحلقات ندخل بعض الأمور التوعوية، المسج يكون hidden، مو بطريقة مباشرة. All people will like this series. All people will watch. That's it.
First of all, أول شيء we have to assert the first point is that the children or the teenagers should know that they are first of all loved no matter what, and they don't have to be anything they don't need to be, and drugs won't make their lives better, it'll only make it harder. If they fall into it, don't lose hope, there's always cure. If you ever been diagnosed with any difficulties, then you should go to the best doctor, or you should go to the cheapest, I mean not cheapest, like a doctor that has a reputation or a body that has no need to abuse you and make money off you. Third, if by any means you find yourself needing to take a drug or self-medicate, do it with light drugs. Never do it with hard drugs. And if you do it with hard drugs, it's not the end of the world. You can still find hope and you can still be cured, but just know that drugs will make life a bit more difficult for you, and sometimes much more difficult, and you don't know, so avoid it.
My group comes from a background of business and media, so we merged the two ideas of by using big data analytics to target who is the most susceptible to drugs, and using the power of media to get the message across through a storytelling narrative. From our findings, we find that the most people susceptible to drugs are teenagers, specifically the age range between 11 to 15. So we're going to target them at schools using presentations, TED Talk style, but with a twist. We would present two cases, both drug users, different drugs, and we'll have one speaker present who would discuss what happens psychologically, physically, emotionally, through the process of getting addicted to drugs all the way to coming out of drugs, with live footage, videos, photos of what happens, the decay in the body, brain scans, MRI scans, videos in clinics. And then the second case would be, the first case would be when the person makes it through the process and out the other side, to speak from a first-person perspective, to get the message across to the kids. And the second case would be when the drug victim doesn't make it. So our strategy for getting the message across is shock and awe, using data and media, and targeting a specific age group for maximum effect.
احنا جروبنا ينقسم الى مهندسين وغير مهندسين، فجروبي اللي موجود هناك. زين. So we actually didn't agree يعني on a conclusion, but I have faith إن شاء الله إن they will not oppose لأن we agreed kind of in a زين. ففضحت الجروبات. زين. ف we or I, بس I'd use we. So we would decide that راح يكون عندنا مادة جديدة تنضاف إلى مناهج التعليم في وزارة التربية من الابتدائي إلين الثانوية، اللي هي مادة اسمها صحة. مادة اسمها صحة، فاللي يدرس فيها he's let's say a general doctor، دكتور دارس اللي هو مال نفسه المستوصف. فهذا الدكتور يشيل مادة يمشي له معاش من وزارة التربية، فيدرس المادة هذه هي صحة، تتكلم عن whether it's drugs or even obesity for example which is very huge in Kuwait, even diabetes. We have a lot of cases والدكتورة يمكن تدري وايد في أطفال راحوا مشيسها لهم بسبة انه هي ما قز ابرته ولا بسبة allergies. I have a friend long time ago مرزوق تذكره كان معنا بثانوية توفى بسبة انه diabetes الله يرحمه. عندنا واحد من ربع allergy. So it's the same thing even with drugs. So I would recommend or our group would recommend انه we have عندنا مادة اسمها مادة صحة في وزارة التربية، حالة حال اللغة العربية، حالة حال mathematics، حالة حال أي subject تدرس من الابتدائي إلى الثانوية. وبعدها حتى هذه المادة تفيده if you want to become in the future nutritionist، دكتور، طبيب، whatever. فthat's our group's conclusion حل or solution. وإن شاء الله الانجينيرز they will not oppose. الخوف منهم هم. Thank you.
بس أنا بعلق على حسن، صح؟ بتسوي مزرعة وتحط تخلي الناس تجربون؟ يا ويلك. أنت تعمل كارثة. أنت تدري إيه ونتفق عليه أنا وياك بعدين. ها من فكرتها قطيتها عليهم. فكرتك أنت، اسمك الله يعافيك وعنوانك. على العموم يمكن في مخالفة، أنا أعتذر حق السايكاتريك اللي موجودين. يا جماعة المدمن والإدمان يبي له ناس تقوص بأعماقهم. أنا علشان لأني أنا ماني مدمنة، فعشان أعالج المدمنين أنا قعدت سنة أقوص بأعماق هالمدمنين علشان أوصل لتفكيرهم وعقلهم. قعدت سنة أدش المستشفى الساعة 8 الصبح أطلع الساعة 12 بالليل. المدمن هو القريب للمدمن يفهمه أكثر. لكن أنا راح أقول لك نقطة. عند علاج الإدمان يقول لك جرعة واحدة لن تكفي وآلاف الجرعات لن تشبع. أنت لما تجيب شخص تجربه يخليه يجرب، لا ننكر إن إحنا أول جرعة تعطيه مزاج عالي، وهذا إحنا يعني حتى أنا أشيد بالاختلال اللي وايد عجبتني فكرتك إن نعمل شغلات. لا بالبداية إحنا نعمل إنه هو مزاجه عالي وينبسط، ولا هم ينبسطون، لكن بعدين وين راح يصير؟ إحنا قبل لا يموت هو في كآبة، راح يعيش في كآبة، راح يصير عنده خسائر وايد. أنا لما أخليه أعطيه أقول له تعال جرب، تعتقد أنت لما تفتح له باب الفارم اللي عاملينه يقول له اطلع، راح يطلع؟ ما راح يطلع. يساعده بشنو؟ الأدكت قصده؟ الأكس أدكت؟ ما فهمت السؤال. اي اوكي. اخذ سايكيدليك مشروط راح وطلع للفرق. ترى والله اعشاب. شوف انا عندي واحده من الحالات على حسب نوع الاعشاب. شنو الاعشاب؟ شنو تركيبه الاعشاب؟ اوكي. هو بين الخلايا في مخدر طبيعي من رب العالمين. إيه؟ مثل شنو؟ اوكي. لا هذه احنا نسميها في علاج الادمان مواد بديله. هذا مادة بديلة، أنت طلعته من شغلة ودخلته بشغلة ثانية مرة واحدة. مثل الكبسولة قصدك؟ مثل الكبسولة تنزرع بالجلد. الكبسولة أنا أقول لك شغلة، إذا تقولون مثلا مثل الكبسولة، أنا هذا أول مرة أسمع فيها، لكن إذا قلتوا مثل الكبسولة اللي تنزرع تحت الجلد يزرعونها دول معينة، إنزين مو معترف فيها عالميا، لكن إذا انزرعت الكبسولة ويا الشخص أخذ المادة اللي ياخذها أو أي مادة ثانية ممكن يصير معاه سكتة قلبية.
يعطيكم العافية. بس ثواني بس. انزين، معك دكتور إبراهيم، طبيب كويتي، أشتغل بمركز الكويت للصحة النفسية. I admire your passion for exploration and all these things. بس الحقيقة أنا I have to say one thing. I am disappointed in Kuwait in my time working، سواء لما كنت في قسم الباطنية أو لما كنت في قسم الطب النفسي، at the amount of resources that are being depleted من الدولة trying just to keep cases of drug abuse afloat. I am disappointed. لما تقول موضوع let's open it all up، ولما احنا نقول لك لا hold back we need to see the studies، لما انت تقول انا عندي evidence، انا ارد عليك واقول لك let's see the FDA what they think about this evidence. شنو يمنع ان real pharmaceutical industries develop drugs that prevent they probably would if this prevents a certain form of addiction. Why? And my question is, why do we have to do it in the gray zone? Why do we have to do it in an area where ما في رقابة، ما في أحد قاعد يراقب، ما حد قاعد يطالع؟ إنزين. Go ahead.
الحين ليريكا، زانكس، ترامادول، اوكسيكوتين، هذول منتشرين بشكل more than weed، شابو، كل شيء بالكويت. فدون لو سمحت يعني ما اعتقد ان FDA approve is something wow. I think this is a business. It's a business.
زين can I I'm صراحة I'm on his side. I'm in the middle because I hear two extremes. He's trying to be the voice of reason in the middle. There is research. It's been going on for more than 20 years. I can direct you to which universities, specifically which studies, in terms of which drugs, and there is evidence that there are some benefits, but there are other ways to get the same benefits because you have the neurotransmitters are innately in the brain. So what if you could teach a person to access those heightened states of awareness and that attention and that focus without popping the pills or taking the drugs? And I just want to add one more thing. About you're talking about big pharma. You're talking about big pharmaceuticals. Talk about the German pharmaceuticals and American pharmaceuticals that want to keep people dependent because of the economic industrial complex. Okay, but I think there is a point here. It's called microdosing, and it's under clinical conditions. It's not, well, I'll just go and just take whatever you want. No, it is in a university. You can sign up and you go there and you do it under the hospital and the university jointly. So you become part of the trial. It's not go and trip out in a warehouse.
أضيف على نقطتك حتى الأوبيويدز والأمور هذه لما I know someone was here was criticizing psychiatrists. They were saying إن أنتوا سبب الادكشن. I forgot someone here was throwing and I understand why some people might think that. بس ترى no one يعني ما في psychiatrist يبي أحد يدخل بادكشن. وإحنا بالمركز we see every day the amount of يعني pressure people put on us to allow them to enter into addiction. إحنا ندش بسرعة. I'm sure الدكتور حمد يتفق معي. It's a struggle for us. Then we tell people no, we have to go by the guideline. You're not allowed to take a dose that's more than this. لأن according to clinical trials, this is the limit. بس لما أنت يكون عندك stash of heroin وهذه صارت بالكويت. زين؟ منعوا الهيروين فجأة الكونسنتريشن يخلطون مع طحين. معروف هالشيء. فجأة التاجر يبيع والسبلاي قل كان يزيد نسبة هذا ما يجيب نفس المفعول. لما رد الهيروين الطبيعي الكل دش بأوفردوس. فجأة بالكويت صار عندنا حالات ناس ماتت. when you don't have regulation, this is the problem. I don't mind. Hey, drug cartels, why don't you fuse yourself into the pharmaceutical industry? Let's regulate you. Why are you working in the dark? This is my question. Institution? شلون يعني؟
They exist.
شنو
They
فرقه
exist.
على ال pharmaceutical industry? If you think in this drug is going to benefit you, most likely it's a pharmaceutical. We can develop it. Let's see the evidence. Let's work on research to make it a real drug.
Okay, go to a trial. Sign up.
Make a randomized clinical trial. طيب تمام اذا فعلا هذا in the future down the line بس مو اقوم اخذه انا عشان والله خلينا نجرب يمكن يفهم معاي. هذا I have a problem with this. This is the problem.
Clinical conditions.
But it's not in the line of approval yet. هذا ممكن واحد يسوي اي شيء يبي بدون انضباطيه بدون قوانين كذا راح يصير اناركي.
في ناس تعاطوا بالكويت ممنوع بس ناس once if you want to do it you're not gonna care about the law. فلما يكون في مكان تخصص خلاص you feel safe there.
I want to wrap up with one point. I think that in general substance use is a problem that's beyond medicine. I think it's related to a lot of the problems that go on in society. And I think once we tackle those issues and we're going to solve this. This is a symptom. It's not the disease. Hello? يعني I know you heard the story of Rat Park and I hate to keep saying the story before many times. But حطوا two experiments. It's called Rat Park. Just Google it. In one cage حطوا rats with everything they could do. They had like fun things to do. They could have as many partners as they wanted. And the other cage, they only had cocaine and water. In the cage where they had nothing to do, most people went into addiction. And in that cage, very few rats went. I'm just saying, I think it's a behavioral problem, and we need to fix the core.
Guys, who knows Elon Musk? Here, SpaceX. What happened when he was smoking weed on Joe Rogan? He got kicked off as CEO. It's not, if he wants to do it, let him do it. But it alters decision-making processes in the brain. Okay, even if you smoke it now, it still have an effect later on cognitive function. Okay, he's right now. Elon is working on a new company. It's called Neuralink. In the future, now this debate will be settled because we will have the data points. Because psychologists, psychotherapists, they don't actually look at the organ they're treating. They're poking. Some of them are poking holes in the dark. History, family history, blah 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 blah. If we can show you exactly what's happening to your brain while you're thinking this thought or taking this substance, and we show you on a graph, because each brain is wired differently, and if we show you each substance how it affects your brain, I think this settles both sides of the debate. And this technology will be available in less than 5 years. It's like the neuroscience sensors are being like developed right now. So this debate will be pointless in 5 years. Like if I tell you your brain, you're susceptible to this, don't take this. Are you gonna take this? Say I can have one glass of coffee and I won't sleep for 2 days. You can have 10, you'll be fine. Each person is different. So if we show the data, then people will have some kind of awareness of what to do, what not to do.
Okay, thank you. يعطيكم العافية. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, we have to leave. طبعا, thank you all. Did you guys enjoy the activity? Do you think we should do it in every other CCD? No, for you guys, like if you can just, I want to see a raise of hands. Today was a pilot. Yes, the activity. Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. يعطيكم العافية. We just, before the CCD started, we posted an online questionnaire on our Instagram. We would love it for you to complete it, share it with your friends. We're trying to do a public opinion report and make it public, obviously, for the people to then see and have updated data and access on public opinion on what Kuwaitis think about drugs and our society does, inshallah. So your help would mean a lot to us. And if there is, we really do hope that whatever happens or whatever you learn from here today, you take home and you take all those positive things and share them with your friends. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to do this year. Go back home, spread awareness, do the survey and the questionnaire, make a farm, contemplate your ideas, and thank you. يعطيكم العافية.